Hello, dear viewers. Welcome to the program. I'm your host, Gunner. And I am totally right about FNaF Secret of the Mimic. So, if you haven't seen my first video, and let's be honest, you haven't seen my first video, I theorized that William Afton started doing the nightmare experiments on other people before doing them on his son Dave in an effort to either produce agony or try to basically recreate what the Mimic is. Like, try to infuse a robot with agony, try to harness that power. And I was expecting to be proven completely wrong when Secret of the Mimic came out, but instead I can actually go into more detail and with more confidence. In one of the endings, we're shown Edwin's son David's bedroom, and it looks a lot like the Nightmare test chamber from FNaF 4. I think William recreated David's bedroom in the test chamber because he really didn't know exactly what made the Mimic the way it is. I think he was just trying to recreate the conditions around the Mimic's creation as closely as possible, just hoping that something would work. It kind of reminds me of Metal Gear Solid 2, if you've ever played that game. Basically, the plot is that an evil group of AIs called the Patriots that rule the world created the plot of the game, which is a recreation of the plot of the first game, so that they could create the perfect super soldier. Basically, if someone can go through what Solid Snake went through in the first game, then they are as good as Solid Snake, and he is considered to be the perfect super soldier. And I think that's what FNaF 4 is. William trying to recreate the Mimic because he's crazy, he's evil, he's kooky and crazy. Maybe he thinks he can control it, maybe he's just like that. Maybe he thinks that the Mimic only works because of the way it is. Because something interesting in the game is that there is an audio log near the end where I think Edwin says that model of the Mimic, M2, is the only one that works. He tried making more endoskeletons and none of them worked. I don't know what that means because Edwin infected it with agony when he beat it up after David died, which was way after the Mimic was already up and working perfectly, so I don't know what's going on there. That really just sums up every second of being a FNaF fan. I don't know what's going on. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that Secret of the Mimic actually supports my theory, which is crazy for a first theory not to be something you just immediately throw away. Anyways, with all of that said, there is something else that I want to talk about. That being the reaction to the revelation that Tales games, the theory that the Tales from the Pizza books directly take place when the game's timeline, has apparently been debunked. There are some things in Secret of the Mimic that contradict some facts in the books, namely the details of Fiona's death being different, Fiona being Edwin Murray's wife. And there's also the fact that in the books, when Edwin creates the Mimic, it doesn't have any legs, it's just a torso. But in the game, he does give it legs, but I think he tears its legs off when he beats it, because in that final tape where the Mimic quote-unquote kills Edwin, it does say that it made itself new legs, or that it fixed its legs or something like that. The idea is that things are different, alright? The books are not completely one-to-one with the games. And the general reception that I've been seeing so far, especially from people who were believers of Tales games, is that they are kind of saying like, what was the point? Why did I waste my time reading those books? What was the point of any of that if none of it matters now? The thing is that those books do matter. There are still things like, the game never explicitly says that David dies, and it certainly never says that he dies in a car accident. That is something that we only know from the books. Just because it's not completely one-to-one with the games doesn't mean they're completely useless. And this is the same with the Fazbear Frights. Even though I never believed that Fazbear Frights are canon to the games, I'm fairly certain they're not, though I was 50-50 on Tales leading up to the Secret of the Mimic game. Even those books are useful, even though I don't think they take place within the game's timeline. I really think it's that people are angry that they're wrong in like 50 sets of quotation marks. The thing about FNaF theorizing, or just theorizing in general, is that it's not about right or wrong. I say in a video called I Was Right about FNaF Secret of the Mimic. That's for clickbait purposes, okay? That we live in a world where it's clickbait or get clickbaited. I had to do that to survive, okay? It's if I was expecting to be wrong going into this game, and I was completely fine with that. Theorizing isn't about being right or wrong. It's about having fun, okay? And I've been talking about the people who were wrong, the Tales Games believers. I also want to say to the people who didn't believe Tales Games and who are kind of gloating about it, you still, even though you're right, again, quotation marks, you got to be respectful. You got to follow Gibby's Freddy's system, all right? You know, you can be happy about being right as long as you're not being a dick about it. PSA over. I guess this video is basically just going to be a general Secret of the Mimic discussion video. Everything you missed in Five Nights at Freddy's Secret of the Mimic. Because there is at least one more thing that I want to... I'm just flying off the seat of my pants. I don't know. I'm not planning any of this out. There is one thing that I noticed. VIP is in this game. If you don't know, you know, the interactive novels, the 4 interactive novels that recently came out, generally assumed to be within the game's timeline. There is a character that is probably another offshoot of the Mimic 1 program, you know, Glitch Trap and all that, called VIP. It's a pig character. And he's in this game. Like, the look of him, his model, he's like a sort of Western cowboy type. I assume that the fact that Roxy is in this game and is usually associated with Western cowboy stuff, except for that one pirate scene. But even in Security Breach, like, her whole area is Western themed. So, you know, when I see the Western themed VIP pig, I do associate that in my mind with Roxy, which is interesting, seeing as how a lot of people are speculating that after Ruin, you know, where Roxy and the M2, the physical Mimic, kind of have that battle, and the Mimic presumably wins, he might use Roxy to manipulate Cassie into being the next sort of Vanny character. But that might be what the, like, Security Breach 2 mimicking Roxy to manipulate Cassie, because they're by associating the VIP pig with the Western sort of Roxy, that to me, that's associating the Mimic with Roxy even further. So that's interesting. I don't know if that is, you know, bringing up that it will be using Roxy to manipulate Cassie in the future, or that there is some connection between at least the M1 and Roxy. I don't know. I seem to be saying I don't know a lot. I'm such a good FNaF theorist. Okay, so I just remembered that, interestingly enough, there is another connection to Metal Gear Solid 2. So in that game, the Colonel from the first game is guiding you through, you know, briefing you on your mission as you go along. But at the end of the game, it's revealed that it was actually an AI mimicking his voice, manipulating you the whole time. And that exact same reveal happens at the end of Secret of the Mimic. I don't know exactly when the AI takes over from the dispatch, if it was the dispatch from, or if it was the AI, I think F1054, it's like a stylized computer way of saying Fiona. Basically, the Mexis, oh my god, this game is crazy. The Mexis system was built by Edwin. No, it wasn't built by Edwin. It was built by the Mimic as a recreation of Edwin's wife, Fiona. It's so weird. I don't know. But so that, the Mexis, I'll just call it Mexis, is the AI that mimics the dispatch's Andy Field's voice. I don't know when it takes over, because the game begins, you're in your car and dispatch calls you and tells you to go to the costume manor. I don't know if that's actual dispatch or if that's the Mimic, or, you know, a Mexis. But at some point, Mexis does take over, mimicking his voice, and basically manipulates you throughout the game. So it's just, these connections to MGS2 are leading me to believe that it's at least inspired by, which gives more credence to my, you know, FNaF 4 plot theory. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, man. You already clicked out the video. I'm talking to nobody right now. And I think that's about all I have to say about the game right now. I'll probably have more to say when actual FNAF theorists like Rytoast and FNAF and them, when they start making their videos and I get an actual idea of what's going on. Uh, I'll probably be able to make some better videos then, but for now, I guess I'll catch you guys on the flip side.